Hello everybody again. This video is for the next book in Old Testament that we're covering, the later prophets. This will be Prophet Habakkuk. So I hope I'm pronouncing it right. That's how I pronounce it, Habakkuk. And the preface tells us about Habakkuk in the time, near the time of the transition from the Assyrian to the Babylonian empires, the late 7th century BC. The prophet Habakkuk engaged in a profound dialogue with Israel's God. The form of his book is a short series of complaints or laments, followed by divine responses. When Habakkuk's cries are answered, he closes with a hymn of confidence in God's expected victory. The prophet begins by asking how long God will allow evil to triumph. Common question by everybody. The divine replies that God is raising up the Babylonians as his tool of correction. So he'll use evil, others as instruments as well as tools in correction, discipline, just like a parent. As a parent, uses various means to correct bad behaviors in their children. This leads to Habakkuk's second question. Why do you allow the wicked to swallow up those more righteous than themselves? God replies again. Another common question. Why does God allow this stuff to go on? God replies again, explaining that the Babylonians will be judged just like the Assyrians, and that the righteous must await this in faith and patience. So it also allows a lot of stuff to test our faith and our patience and our belief in Him, our love in Him, and obedience to Him. God on a personal level, individual level. God can, like a loving parent, can discipline us and cause something bad to happen to us, or seemingly bad, to get our attention, to get us back on the right track, to pay attention to Him, to listen to Him, to behave, become more righteous, or as a form of punishment, as a parent does. Although most of the bad stuff that happens in the world to us is a result of our own free will choice, no matter how long ago it was, or more recent, and by darkness and evil. God does utilize it as well. So that's why you immediately experiencing something bad, you rebuke and banish in the name and blood of Jesus Christ, blood of the Lamb, or Emmanuel, and darkness has to go away. And if you're still experiencing, still having problems with it, then it's God doing something. Then you ask for discernment. Thank Him, be thankful for it, and ask Him for understanding what it is He needs for you. And then listen to Him. The inevitability of Babylon's doom is emphasized when God pronounces a series of 5 woes against it. So it's inevitable in Babylon here. This is about back then, but back then also has to do with now. When Habakkuk's dialogue with God concludes, the book moves to what is called a prayer of Habakkuk, but its musical notations reveal that it is clearly meant to be sung. Habakkuk celebrates God's dramatic intervention for Israel in the past and prays that God will do it again, which He has done and is doing. The prophet resolves, in the meantime, to wait patiently for God's coming. And that's what we're having to do. Okay, chapter 1. The prophecy that Habakkuk the prophet received. How long, Lord, must I call for help, but you do not listen? Or cry out to you violence, but you do not save? Why do you make me look at injustice? Why do you tolerate wrongdoing? People ask this all the time. Destruction and violence are before me. There is strife and conflict abounds. Therefore the law is paralyzed and justice never prevails. The wicked hem in the righteous so that justice is perverted. It certainly feels like that all the time. It has for so long. Look at the nations and watch. Again, mankind, first man and woman with a choice, allowed evil into the world. Look at the nations and watch and be utterly amazed. For I'm going to do something. This is the reply. Look at the nations, God's reply. Look at the nations and watch and be utterly amazed. For I'm going to do something in your days that you would not believe, even if you were told. I am raising up the Babylonians, that ruthless and impetuous people, who sweep across the whole earth, who seize dwellings not their own. How many times have we seen this happen? Nazis and other empires. Al-Qaeda, ISIS, radical Islamists. See it all the time. They are a feared and dreaded people. They are a law to themselves and promote their own honor. The horses are swifter than leopards, fiercer than wolves at dusk. Their cavalry gallops headlong, the horsemen come from afar. They fly like an eagle, swooping to devour. They all come intent on violence. The hordes advance like a desert wind and gather prisoners like sand. They mock kings, they scoff at rulers. They laugh at all fortified cities. By building earthen ramps, they capture them. Then they sweep past like the wind and go on, guilty people whose own strength is their God. It sounds like so many throughout history, certainly today. Lord, he's asking again, Lord, are you not from everlasting? My God, my Holy One, you will never die. You, Lord, have appointed them to execute judgment. You, my rock, have ordained them to punish. Your eyes are too pure to look on evil. You cannot tolerate wrongdoing. Why then do you tolerate the treacherous? Why are you silent while the wicked swallow up those more righteous than themselves? You have made people like the fish in the sea, like the sea creatures that have no ruler. The wicked foe pulls all of them up with hooks. He catches them in his net. He gathers them up in his dragnet, so he rejoices and is glad. Therefore he sacrifices to his net, and burns incense to his dragnet. For by his net he lives in luxury, and enjoys the choicest food. Is he to keep on emptying his net, destroying nations without mercy, and gathering up people and corrupting them? God answers, chapter 2, I will stand at my watch and station myself on the ramparts. I will look to see what he will say to me, and what answer am I to give to this complaint. I'll say that was still him saying, I'm sorry, this is the Lord. He says, Habakkuk says, I will stand at my watch and station myself in the ramparts. And I will be patient, continue to look and wait for an answer. I will look to see what he will say to me, what answer I am to give to this complaint, to this answer, the question that people ask. God replied, write down the revelation and make it plain on tablets so that a herald may run with it. For the revelations await an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay. Be patient. See, the enemy is puffed up. His desires are not upright, but the righteous person will live by his faithfulness. Indeed, wine betrays him. He is arrogant, never at rest, because he is as greedy as the grave, and like death is never satisfied. That's mankind. He gathers to himself all the nations, takes captive all the peoples, like the devil does. Will not all of them taunt him with ridicule and scorn, saying, woe to him who piles up stolen goods and makes himself wealthy by extortion. How long must this go on? Will not your creditors suddenly arise? Will they not wake up and make you tremble? Then you will become their prey. Because you have plundered many nations, the peoples who are left will plunder you. For you have shed human blood, you have destroyed lands and cities and everyone in them. Woe to him who builds his house by unjust gain. Many of that in the world. Setting his nest on high to escape the clutches of ruin. You have plotted the ruin of many people, shaming your own house and forfeiting your life. The stones of the wall will cry out, and the beams of woodwork will echo it. Woe to him who builds a city with bloodshed and establishes a town by injustice. Has not the Lord Almighty determined that the people's labor is only fuel for the fire, that the nations exhaust themselves for nothing? For the earth will be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. Woe to him who gives drink to his neighbors, pouring it from the wineskin until they are drunk, so that he can gaze on their naked bodies. You will be filled with shame instead of glory. Now it is your turn. Drink and let your nakedness be exposed. The cup from the Lord's right hand is coming around to you, and disgrace will cover your glory. The violence you have done to Lebanon, not specifically Lebanon, but the neighbor, Lebanon's neighbor of Israel, so referencing your neighbor. The violence you have done to your neighbor will overwhelm you, and your destruction of animals will terrify you. You have shed human blood, you have destroyed lands and cities and everyone in them, speaking to all mankind. Of what value is an idol carved by a craftsman, or an image that teaches lies? For the one who makes it trusts in his own creation. He makes idols that cannot speak. That's idolatry, self-idolatry. Woe to him who says to wood, come to life, or to lifeless stone, wake up. Can it give guidance? It is covered with gold and silver, there is no breath in it. The Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth be silent before him, and wait for him. Be patient, faithful. Chapter 3 was the prayer of Habakkuk the prophet on Shigionoth. Not sure what that is. So this is, I believe, the song or lamentation that Habakkuk gives out. Lord, I have heard of your fame. I stand in awe of your deeds, Lord. Repeat them in our day, in our time, make them known. In wrath, remember mercy. So in your anger, remember your mercy. God came from Teman, the Holy One from Mount Paran. His glory covered the heavens and his praise filled the earth. His splendor was like the sunrise, rays flashed from his hand where his power was hidden. Plague went before him, pestilence followed his steps. He stood and shook the earth. He looked and made the nations tremble. The ancient mountains crumbled, and the age-old hills collapsed. But he marches on forever. He's limitless. I saw the Kents of Cushan in distress, the dwellings of Midian in anguish. Were you angry with the rivers, Lord? Was your wrath against the streams? Did you rage against the sea when you rode your horses and your chariots to victory? You uncovered your bow, you called for many arrows. You split the earth with rivers, the mountains saw you and writhed. Torrents of water swept by, the deep roared and lifted its waves on high. Sun and moon stood still in the heavens, at the glint of your flying arrows, at the lightning of your flashing spear. In wrath you strode through the earth, in anger you threshed the nations. You came out to deliver your people, to save your anointed one. You crushed the leader of the land of the wickedness, of wickedness, you stripped him from head to foot. With his own spear you pierced his head when his warriors stormed out to scatter us, gloating as though about to devour the wretched who were in hiding. You trampled the sea with your horses, churning the great waters. I heard and my heart pounded, my lips quivered at the sound. Decay crept in my bones, my legs trembled. Yet I will wait patiently for the day of calamity to come on the nation invading us. Though the fig tree does not bud, and there are no grapes on the vines, though the olive crop fails, and the fields produce no food, though there are no sheep in the pen and no cattle in the stalls, yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will be joyful in God my Savior. The sovereign Lord is my strength. He makes my feet like the feet of a deer. He enables me to tread on the heights. The director, and that's the end. Praise be God. So be patient, whether it's for your end and coming for you, or for the end, which has begun. We're in Revelations now, very beginning of it. So again, with all these, they pertain to a specific time back then, but they're eternal. They pertain to throughout man's history, especially now. So it's a good one. Habakkuk's a good one to help answer some of those questions. Ask God. Trust in Him. Be faithful. He's testing you. He's testing your faith. God, the devil's trying to draw you away, deceive you, just like the devil did with Adam and Eve. Oh, I'm sure God would mean for you to not try this, actually eat from this tree. I'm sure you misunderstood. This will be okay. I know God. Don't fall to his deception. Peace of Christ. God bless.